Well, the Spider-Man franchise sure has had its ups and downs over the past decade or so, hasn't it? Hey movie fans, so Spider-Man Homecoming is right around the corner and I don't know if I could be any more excited. I'm just getting back into that Spider-Man frame of mind, and so to celebrate today, to get ready, I'm going to be ranking the 5 Spider-Mans that we've gotten so far, all the live-action Spider-Man. So that varies from the original Sam Raimi trilogy to the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man movie. So I'm going to be ranking them from worst all the way to the best. Starting us off at the worst Spider-Man movie, I'm going to go with a different opinion than some. Amazing Spider-Man 2, I think, is probably, and it's not the worst, I'll go with the weakest. There's still some redeemable factors of it, but by and large, this one suffers from a lot of problems of putting the cart in front of the horse, if you know what I mean. They clearly wanted to have this big Spider-Man universe, but they did it at the expense of sacrificing a good story. There's like 5 good movies in Amazing Spider-Man 2, crammed into one meh movie. Batman v Superman had the same problem of trying to set up too much stuff that will be revealed at a later date, but sacrificing the story at hand. There's a lot of good things at play here. The relationship between Peter and Gwen was just as solid as it was in the first one, and at times I felt bad that Gwen died. Other times I really felt like they bungled the whole Gwen Stacy death thing. There's plenty of good to be had in Amazing Spider-Man 2, but there's a lot more bad that I think outweighs it, that makes it the weakest Spider-Man movie so far. We've got Paul Giamatti's Rhino, you've got Dane DeHaan's Green Goblin that's just kind of thrown in there randomly just to kill Gwen Stacy at the end, which that Gwen Stacy death was really bungled and could have been so much better. Then, from Amazing Spider-Man 2, then we'll get to Spider-Man 3. That's the one that everyone seems to hate the most, and for good reason. However, I don't think it's as bad as everyone makes it out to be, because all the issues that come from Spider-Man 3 can be boiled down to one single thing, and if you took that out or changed it, that actually solves a lot of the problems. Take out Venom and save him for the next movie. Go back and watch Spider-Man 3. I challenge you not to be entertained, at least, by the first third of the movie when it's just Spider-Man versus Sandman. That feels a lot like the first 2 Sam Raimi movies. Then when the Venom suits gets introduced, then it starts to go downhill, because then you have 3 villains to juggle. Emo Spider-Man dancing, which that's not in the movie if there's no Venom, so that takes care of that. Takes care of Topher Grace's Venom. Takes care of the overblown villain problem, which all those are the main gripes that people have about Spider-Man 3. So if you take out Venom, it's actually a pretty good movie. It's just Sandman and New Goblin, which both of those villains were actually really strong, with New Goblin being built up over 2 movies already, and Thomas Hayden Church's Sandman was actually good. I really liked that. So Spider-Man 3, for all the hate it gets, it really just boils down to Venom. Yeah, they messed up Venom bad, but the movie itself, if you take out the Venom stuff, it's pretty watchable-ish. After Spider-Man 3, we start getting into more of the Spider-Man that we know and love. So right in the middle of the pack of to good, we have Amazing Spider-Man. Now, I was just kind of interested when I heard that this was coming out. I was like, they're rebooting it after 3 movies? Okay. Okay. Because at that time, I was still hating on Spider-Man 3 big time. Now, there's still some detractors for Amazing Spider-Man, and I get that. I really liked the Spider-Man aspect of Amazing Spider-Man. I'll always say that Tobey Maguire is a better Peter Parker, but Andrew Garfield is a better Spider-Man. The big complaint I have with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is that there's really no difference between him in the suit and him out of it when he's Peter Parker. He's a smarmy smart aleck in or out of the Spider-Man suit. There needs to be some kind of dichotomy of this is how he is in the suit, this is how he is as Peter Parker, and there really wasn't that. But by and large, it was a nice Spider-Man story. If it had one big problem, it was treading too much on the same territory as the Sam Raimi stories of repeating stuff that we already know. I would have given him no origin story because we know Spider-Man's origin story. I swear if we get another Spider-Man, Superman, or Batman origin story in another movie, No, thank you. Amazing Spider-Man was fresh. It was fun. It was a new take on Spider-Man. Yes, it repeated some of the stuff, but it was a lot of fun. Lizard was a good villain. I just didn't like the suit. I'm glad they changed it for Amazing Spider-Man 2. That suit just... ugh. But we're down to the final two. Which one's second best? Which one's the best? Well, for me, the second best Spider-Man movie ever is Spider-Man 1. By far the cheesiest Spider-Man movie that's been released in theaters. Yeah, we've gotten some really, really cheesy Spider-Man TV shows. Yeah, but by and large, this one's still fun. It's a bit dated. But I think that's kind of the charm of the original Spider-Man movies, is how cheesy and ridiculous they are. Like, look at the fight scenes at times between Peter and the Green Goblin. It's more akin to a Power Rangers episode in terms of how they look and how they act. But that's really just kind of the tone of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies to begin with. They're cheesy and cliched, but they embrace that cheesiness, and it still makes for a lot of fun. Like, it's hard not to root for Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker. He's just that shy nerd. He's Peter Parker. It really, really works. Now he got into the overly mopey and sad phases in the later movies. Thanks, Tobey. But we hadn't gotten overexposed with that yet in the first Spider-Man, so he was still prime Peter Parker, which was just a nerdy kid in high school getting beat up by Deathstroke. Yes, that's now Deathstroke in the DC Cinematic Universe that beat up Peter Parker in school. Nice little connection there. But he was a guy that was really easy to get invested in. If you cared about him, you cared about Aunt May, you cared about Uncle Ben. I'm not going to say you cared about Mary Jane, because you didn't. But the original Spider-Man, without that, I don't think we would have the superhero craze that we do today. That and X-Men I always credit as the two big superhero movies that really brought superhero films to the forefront of popularity. But obviously, by and large, the best Spider-Man movie to date, unless Homecoming's even better, the best Spider-Man movie we've gotten so far, Spider-Man 2. And I put all the credit in the world on that to the villain. Doc Ock, played by Alfred Molina, is like the best Spider-Man villain performance we've gotten by far. I always loved Doc Ock. He's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains, and Alfred Molina was just perfect in that role. However, it wasn't just the villain. They raised the stakes. The stories and issues that Peter was going through got more mature and adult, and just how I wanted a Spider-Man story to be unfolded. Here's the introduction. Here's him getting into more trouble that Peter is used to, of balancing life and responsibility and being a hero and kind of juggling everything, and just his problems with money, Mary Jane. It all really worked incredibly well. Spider-Man 2 was incredibly mature, but it never lost that cheesy, fun nature that it had from the first one before it completely jumped the shark for Spider-Man 3. It's just all around the best. From the action set pieces with that runaway train scene, it's still one of the hallmarks of the entire Spider-Man franchise. It's just fantastic, and by far the best Spider-Man movie that we've gotten to date. But what do you guys think are the best and worst Spider-Man movies of all time? Comment below. And as always, if you like what you see and want to see more, subscribe to the channel, or find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, Uncharted Media. Stay sharp, movie guys and gals.